Chris Wallace here, advisor to men, back with another ATM news. We're going to talk today about regret. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do. I saw it through without exception. My Way, most famously sung by Frank Sinatra way back in my day. If there's anything that plagues a man, very much to his detriment, it is his regrets. They tend to permeate the whole of his life with a series of if only this, if only that, to underline his failures. Is this healthy? It can't be. Is it even reasonable? Hell no. If we define the shadow as all the things we hide from others, then you can bet that regret fills a good part of a man's psyche with darkness. I confess I may never get those who say they live without regret. I understand they're stating their intentions, but still, what a privileged life they must live, I tell myself. I've even thought at times they must be narcissistic assholes. What naivete to go through life without regret. I'm envious. Been shot, stabbed, beaten with a baseball bat, and run over. Except for the stabbing, at one time or another, I did the same to others. I once went to sleep and left people partying in my living room. In the morning, one of them was dead. Overdosed. A friend of mine. Right there on my floor. Blue. Fuck. Why didn't I stay up? Regrets? Hell yeah. I've had a few. Oh my God, if you let them, regrets can paralyze a man. Even last week, I killed the wrong fucking chicken. Let me explain. Every year we hatch a few chicks when one of our hens goes broody to replenish the flock. A couple of years ago, Mrs. got some fertile mixed flock eggs from a gal she knows, and lo and behold, they hatched, and one of them turned out to be this curious hen with just a little bit of a fluffy head. Not a Polish hen, but more like a Favorelle, they call it. It was all white, and so my daughter named her Fluffy Head, of course. She was mild-mannered and exceedingly polite, this little hen, and even though the other hens pecked at her at first, she grew to lay regular eggs. I often feed the chickens scraps of bread crusts and the like, and I'd always toss some close to Fluffy Head to make sure she got a share. I grew fond of her as a survivor, as a sort of chicken underdog who persevered despite the bullying bitches all around her. Last year's hatchlings were from our own eggs, and two of them turned out to be roosters. 3 roosters in a flock won't cut it. 2 brothers will gang up and wear a weak chicken out and kill it. 1 rooster looking over the flock is all the flock can handle. So I had to kill 2 roosters, and one of them happened to be the son of Fluffy Head. I tried to catch him offhand one afternoon, and then I gave up. And then the next morning, as I let the chickens out of the coop, I stood there with a broom handle I used to break the ice on their water bowl, and I waited. Sure enough, out they came, single file, first peeking their heads out. When I saw his fluffy head, I executed a perfect whack to end his life. Only it wasn't son of Fluffy Head that I killed. It was Fluffy Head herself. Fuck. Now she's flopping all over the yard in her death throes, and the rest of the chickens, led by the rooster, are sounding the alarm. I was so pissed at myself that I flushed son of Fluffy Head out of the coop, and I managed to kill him too. Now I had 2 chickens to get rid of, and I felt really bad about whacking the wrong one. Images flashed before me of the conversation I'd had with my daughter. Damn it. I had the right intentions, but I made a mistake. At the very moment that I brought that broom handle down on the chicken's head, I thought I was dispatching an extra rooster for the good of the flock. But it was too late. How many times in life do we make a mistake and then beat ourselves up about it? In days of yore, I would have psychologically turned my broom handle on myself. What about times we're faced with 2 choices, one of which we know is probably or obviously the better one? By some impulse, we choose what later turns out to be the wrong one. Oh man, my whole life was plagued by these continuously, from childhood and into my 4th decade. Then someone explained to me what was really going on. While studying behavioral sciences in the mid-'80s, it was my psych teacher who said, "We always make the best decisions for ourselves at the time, Christopher. If we could have made a better one, we would have." God bless her. She was a trained Gestalt therapist, and because of her views, I changed mine. You see, We have a self-interested brain. The 86 billion neurons in the brain and the 500 million neurons in the body and their attending glia cells are what comprises your integrated nervous system. In response to various conflicts around us involving people, events, morality, overwhelm, it acts to deny, distort, and repress inner and or outer reality to lessen anxiety and depression. This aspect of us is also known as the ego, and it's very wise. It'll do whatever's necessary to regulate your ecology, including convincing you that you were right when you were wrong, seeing things that are not there, and ignoring things that are. Since that day, my psychology professor taught me about how we make best decisions. I've evolved to put it in a way that I can live with, and I'll share that with you now. Everyone makes the best decisions for themselves at the time. If we could have made a better decision, we would have done so. Hindsight is an unreliable window through which to fairly view what has already happened. Any coward can judge history. The better man accepts the past and is determined to learn from it. Think about these words for a while. Ponder situations at various times in your life. Put yourself at the very moment of your key decisions, especially ones that resulted in regret later. I have many, the least of which are the ways I mishandled relationships over the years, especially in the first half of my life, and sometimes even now. As you consider your circumstances, watch for the judgments that are sure to follow. Understand that most of the part of us that is prone to could have, would have, should have are leftover voices of caregivers preoccupied with our survival and sociability. So again, good intentions. But what if you could afford yourself a healthy dose of compassion, understanding, and forgiveness as you realize, for better or for worse, you were simply doing your best with what you had at the time? In that case, could you let it go? Academic historians, uncorrupted by the feminized culture's egalitarianism and political correctness, describe the absurdity of trying to interpret events of the past through a modern-day lens of knowledge and morality as presentism. They say it's fundamentally dishonest to do that. All of our disappointments derive from our expectations. Ask how you've been lying to yourself by expecting more than at times you had as a perfectly imperfect human being. More importantly, how has your regret hampered your best efforts to learn from your experiences and to become a better man? I'll leave you today with my all-time favorite Carl Jung quote. He quotes Christ in the original, and I may have transcribed it as God. I consider God a metaphor for nature, which allows me to seek and appreciate the mystery and awe of life. This quote is another one of those ones that saved me. That I feed the beggar, that I forgive an insult, that I love my enemy in the name of God. All these are undoubtedly great virtues. What I do unto the least of my brethren, that I do unto God. But what if I should discover that the least among them all, the poorest of all beggars, the most impudent of all offenders, yea, the very fiend himself, that these are within me, and that I myself stand in need of the alms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved? What then? Carl Jung. You deserve the alms of your own kindness, too. In the middle of last night, Mrs. and I were woken by a pack of coyotes, howling, yipping, and yapping loudly from the brush around the house. We knew the cycle of life had been completed. It was as if they stopped by to say thank you for the unexpected bounty handed to them in the middle of a frozen Canadian winter. Not no regrets, but less. If you have questions, comments, holler at me. You know someone who needs to listen to this, why not send it to them? And the usual, subscribe with our gratitude. Meantime, stay powerful, true, and free. Thanks for listening.